Thank you so much for the Shawn1113 podcast show. This is the first podcast of this show for 2026. Hopefully, your this past holiday was great, was safe and sound for you, and nothing but the best for 2026, in my opinion. And with that, do a little bit of housekeeping. If you love this content, please rate a 5-star rating. Comment at Shawn47k at gmail.com. Also, I'm linking also to X as well, X formerly known as Twitter. And thank you also so much in advance for you listening to this podcast anywhere and everywhere in the world, wherever platform you may be listening to. So thank you so much. We start 2026, and it is definitely off to an amazing start already. I don't have to even tell you what it is, but as far as sports go, it is now time for the favorite part of the season for a lot of people and a lot of American football fans. Whether it's called the NFL postseason. So, I'm gonna tell you something. This is going to be much longer than it has been. Was like the 3 minutes because I was in a rush last week. But shall we converse? Shall we? Um, This is the most wide open NFL postseason I have seen in quite some time. I don't know who's going to win. I really don't. Give me 1 second. We're calling. This NFL postseason, man. I don't know who's going to. I don't think they're saying. I know Denver and Seattle are the number one seeds, but I gotta tell you, it is so wide open this year. And sometimes unpredictability in sports is actually a good thing. Predictability, when it's appropriate, it's good. But unpredictability makes it real in sports, makes it makes more of a conversation after the game, makes it more interesting, makes makes you look for what goes on next. You know what I'm saying, folks? And this NFL postseason is definitely it's about to come true. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll get to the picks in a moment. Let's get to the college football picks as well. Um, the semifinal. I did happen. I was glad to be more wrong than I was with the Miami Ohio State game. I mean, it was just a physical beating. It really was. But I'm glad I was wrong about that. And I'm a Hurricane fan, so I'm not going to deny that or not say I'm not going to be accountable for it. But this one, I'm going to take that. But glad to see Miami in the final. It weighs the anchor off Mario Cristobal's back. Also, Indiana beating Alabama. I don't think anybody anticipated that Indiana beat Alabama like that. I really didn't. I think the sentimental favorite though is going to be Ole Miss. Oregon is doing what Oregon does, but also believe Ole Miss is a story with Lane Kiffin just flat out abandoning Ole Miss, and then Golding takes over and gets into the semifinal. A wild finish against Georgia, a wild finish there. But Ole Miss is probably the sentimental favorite there, so excuse me, it's going to be a big. That they're already a huge story, but the fact they are in the CPF semifinal now. So first and foremost, I'll get to that. And by the way, Notre Dame fans, just shut the hell up once and for all. Once and for all. Given that Miami is now in the semifinal and Notre Dame still crying and bitching about not getting in, if you played Ohio State, the same thing would have happened to you. If you, again, if you faced Ohio State, you would have gotten your ass handed. So I don't want to hear any Notre Dame football fan telling me bull crap. about not being in the playoff. You didn't deserve it. It turns out it was verified by Miami themselves against Ohio State. You didn't belong in there at all. I don't want to hear one word about one Notre Dame football telling me crap. All right. In fact, just don't play ACC teams anymore. Just be independent and deal with it. All right. All right, Notre Dame football. But it did verify that Notre Dame did not belong. That the committee did the right thing by picking Miami, and the results speak for itself. Now, before we get to all of that, let's get to the English Premier. I haven't said that in a couple of weeks. I'm looking at the standings that Arsenal still leads. Man City, who blew a lead against Chelsea, by the way, I was very disappointed. And I'm a Man City fan. I was pretty disappointed in I was actually disappointed that they tied with Chelsea because they needed that 3 points and they just got one against Chelsea. Give credit to Chelsea; they never in that match. Yeah, but they're tied with Aston Villa with 42, and Aston Villa's a pretty strong team again, and Liverpool with 34. Happy to see him get back as well with Man United. Pretty much sacrifice and or fired my their manager. But I'll tell you again, the question is going to be for Arsenal: can they maintain this lead when they get to May? That's all there's to it. That's all there's to it. So that's the English Premier League. Interesting games, matches ongoing with the Premier League, I mean NBA, NA, college football, things like that. Not surprised that Stefanski got fired with the Cleveland Browns. Raheem Moore's a little bit surprised fired for Atlanta. Pete Carroll, yeah, I think he was way over his head in Las Vegas. I really do. We don't. I think McDaniels will be staying in Miami for my Dolphins. So I think right now is Trey Young getting traded to the Atlantic Hawks. Um, he's getting traded to the Washington Wizards. Why? Oh yeah, Cardinals fired Jonathan Gannon. But all of them, I'm not worried about them. They're going to be assistant coaches somewhere. So I'm not going to. And now with that out of the way, by the way, let me take a look. I think Michigan in college. I'm all over it in the moment, but Michigan right now uh, looks really good right now. Let me look at the NBA standings for 1 second as we head to the new year. In the Eastern Conference, Detroit still leads over surging Boston, the Knicks, Toronto, Philadelphia, Orlando, Miami, and Cleveland. And then in the West, Oklahoma City lost a few games surprisingly. Um, 30, but they're still in my opinion, they're still the favorite to win the NBA championship. San Antonio's holding on. The Lakers, Denver, without Jokic, unfortunately with the ACL. Houston, Minnesota, Phoenix, and Golden State, and then Portland, a nice little surprise as well, done by Memphis. Then when I look at the NHL, their standings. By the way, the Winter Classic, it was all the Rangers against Florida in that one. Now I'm looking at the standings, and then the Olympics are coming up too. So really looking forward to NHL hockey at the Olympics. Meanwhile, going into the new year for the NHL, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Montreal, Florida is catching up, beginning again. Tampa Bay is getting hot at 7. Buffalo, Boston, Toronto, and Ottawa. Let me look at the conference. Sorry, 3 all. Oh, oh. in reality, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Montreal, the Islanders, Washington, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh. By the way, there's a Penguin fan out there that certainly likes where they're saying there's a mix of old and new ones. I still think Carolina getting the inside track. Detroit's a really good story, though. After so many years in the dormant, Detroit is coming back, and you should be. I mean, the Red Wing fans should be happy at this kind of progress. In the West, Colorado running away, Dallas, Minnesota, Vegas, Edmonton back on the. It's honestly back on the map, but they're on losing streaks though. Who is the hottest team right now in the West? Really, nobody. L.A., Anaheim, Seattle, Edmonton, Vegas, Colorado, and then I look at basketball. Nebraska is still almost skating by at the moment. Really, really, truly. Oh, I'm looking at and then UCF upsets Kansas. Wow, wow. This is as the NFL playoffs goes on, and when the Super Bowl is over, I think a lot of it will be in college basketball. To be honest with you, so Michigan, Arizona, Iowa State, UConn, and Purdue. Pretty much the consensus there. Whereas North Carolina 17, Virginia. I mean, it's a long way to go before March, but things are beginning to shape. It looks like Michigan will be the favorite in the NCAA tournament when it a long way away. Everything can change. So with that, I've talked pretty much long enough about that. Now let's get to the Shawn Steele's CFP picks and NFL postseason picks. Here we go. As soon as it comes. So, the semifinal playoff games, Oregon and Indiana. I would not be surprised if Indiana wins it all now, but I'm picking Oregon. If Indiana and Miami played the final, I would pick Miami. If they played Ole Miss, I would pick Indiana. And if Oregon played Miami, I would still pick Miami. Or Oregon or Ole Miss, I would pick Oregon. But it's a 50-50 shot either way, for real. Oregon, Indiana picking Oregon, and then Miami, Florida, and Ole Miss picking Miami, Florida. Shawn Steele's postseason 2026, the wild card edition. LA Rams and Carolina picking the Rams. Everything's going to be listed in the description, by the way. All this is going to be listed. Green Bay and Chicago picking Chicago. Buffalo and Jacksonville picking Jacksonville. Jacksonville might be the most dangerous team in the AFC, in my opinion, provided they go to the AFC Championship. San Francisco and Philadelphia, I'm picking the Eagles. Goes there. Injuries are pretty much catching San Francisco. As good as they've been coached, we'll see what happens there. LA is Philadelphia going back to the Super Bowl? I don't know. LA Chargers, New England picking New England, and then Houston and Pittsburgh picking Houston. And if you saw that Pittsburgh Baltimore game, that was a great game. That was a great ending to that game. As much as Chicago and Green Bay were. Green Bay and Chicago went from week 16. Now, I mean, both games of the year, in my opinion, was Green Bay and Chicago in week 16 and Houston, and Baltimore and Pittsburgh in week 18, in my opinion. I mean, I think Chicago Green Bay week 17, okay, and Pittsburgh and Baltimore week 18 because of the endings of it. But those are my picks for the postseason and the CFP semifinal 2026. And with that, I've already said more than enough. This is the Shawn1113 podcast show, the first one for January 6, 2026. Thank you so much for listening, wherever it may be and wherever platform you're listening to. iHeartRadio, and I do want to thank each and every one of you for listening to this podcast in 2025. But again, all platforms, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, TuneIn, and many, many, many other podcasts. Podcast Addict, um, Podbean, and every other podcast in between, and anywhere and everywhere in the world. And with that, thank you for listening to the Shawn1113 Cast Show. Please stay encouraged no matter what, and live your life as normal as possible in an abnormal world. God bless you.